It was a full Valentine's Day round in League One in the EFL last night, and I've woken up with two questions. Are Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday proving themselves head and shoulders above the rest now? And, having talked so much about Ipswich and Derby the past month or so, is it actually Bolton who are the only team capable of getting anywhere near them? Now, we've loved the ebbs and flows of this title race, but over the past two games at the top of League One, the pendulum seems to have swung heavily in the direction of Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday in the short term. We've seen the gap between second and third grow to 6 points before, but not with the top two both holding games in hand. It felt like there was a lot of pressure on Plymouth going into this week, having lost that head-to-head with Sheffield Wednesday and with their best player, Michael Cooper, going out injured for the rest of the season. I have to say, it's been a bit of a masterclass by Stephen Schumacher. They've absolutely nailed it. Rotation on Saturday and a 3-1 win over Pompey. All of those players I was worried that he'd left out, Matete, Mumba and Azaz, back in at Oxford last night for the away game, and another 3-1 win for Argyle. Beautifully judged by Schumacher, as I said. Great consistency, great character, and Plymouth are all set for a potentially vital 9-point week back at Fortress Home Park on Saturday against Fleetwood, where they always win. That would bring up the 70-point tally if they could do the 9-point week with 14 games to go, meaning even 8th place form for the rest of the season would take Plymouth up to the magic 92-point mark. Sheffield Wednesday also just relentless. They will not take their foot off the accelerator. Wednesday took the best points tally in the top three head-to-head battles this past month. Plymouth did squeeze past them on Saturday, with Wednesday keeping Ipswich at bay with that draw. But the Owls made good on not winning at the weekend by cruising past Morecambe 3-0 last night. Starman Bannon, having been out injured for a while, and maybe a little bit further forward actually, looked back to his best last night, scoring the opener and sticking through a filthy ball in the build-up for the second. Wednesday's numbers are just scary good. 18 undefeated, fewest conceded, most clean sheets, 7 wins in 8. It is struggling MK at home on Saturday, which means we could well be looking at another 9-point haul for the top two over this busy week. If you enjoy this coverage here on YouTube, why not sign up on Patreon? We have exclusive interview content there and the chance to debate with me and the gang on our monthly round table shows. Help me on my journey to hopefully one day do this stuff for a living. www.patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Don't worry, Bolton fans, we'll get to the Wanderers' good news story in a minute. But first, let's just talk Ipswich and Derby, as a big part of that pendulum swing revolves around those two clubs, blinking heavily actually during the early part of this week. While Plymouth and Wednesday have stuck 6 points on the board, Ipswich have added only 2 and Derby just the 1. With the top two so brutally consistent, we know the margins are very fine for the chasing pack, and you could be waiting a long time to claw back, whether it be 4 or 5 points, quickly swinging in their favour. I'd be less worried if I were a Derby fan at the moment. Wickham away, well look, anyone can lose there, can't they? It was a home draw against Lincoln last night. Lincoln can be pretty stubborn without the ball, and I think the fact that Derby recorded 73% possession and 21 shots suggests they were on the right track, and it doesn't look like the massive wobble that maybe the point swing could suggest. Ipswich, oh dear God, well, that looks far, far more worrying. The wobble, I think we need to call it something else now because it's gone so long, went on another game last night. A shutout, a 0-0 over at Bristol Rovers, another game not winning. Kieran McKenna talked a lot about confidence having gone in the post-match, and it certainly looks that way. 4 wins in the last 15 is just way off what the rest of the top 6 are doing. The maths says if Ipswich do the same as they've just done over 15 games in the final 15, going to land on 78 points, which wasn't enough for the playoffs last season. Winning run needed for Ipswich. Well, crikey, how long have we said that for now? And while we were saying that as a means for Ipswich to get challenging back against the top 2, it now feels like they just need to rebuild confidence and momentum and, frankly, solidify the playoff spot before anything else is under consideration at Portman Road. Right, enough negativity. Let's talk about Bolton, because for all the praise we've rightly given to the top 2, neither of them have done back-to-back 5-0 wins, which Bolton have these past 2 games, on their way to a 5-game winning streak, which is actually currently the best in the division. We know the Trotters have been a very good side defensively all season. Only Sheffield Wednesday's freakishly good backline is better than theirs. But now the goals are flying in too. Now, we have praised Bolton's January business and bolstering that attacking roster, but don't be fooled. This is not the reason why they've just banged in 10 goals. In fact, over the past 2 games, 6 of those 10 have come from their back 5. On the one hand, okay, that's probably not sustainable. Maybe a little bit of a nice spike for the Bolton sort of defensive players. But on the other hand, fair play to Bolton for spreading the goals around, nailing those set-piece situations too. And one thing that is sustainable is Ian Everett's use of wing-backs, and they have been in the thick of the attacking action all season. Bolton are in brilliant form, no doubt about it. Can they catch the top 2? Well, 2 points per game from the remaining 14 would take them to 87, and we are expecting both of the current top 2 to go comfortably above 90. Anything is possible, of course, but we're looking at either Bolton being incredible for their remaining games and therefore the final 19 of their season, if we include the 5 they've already won on the trot, or a huge collapse from one of the top 2. I guess from a Bolton fan's perspective, probably some combination of both would be the best case scenario. What I would say about Bolton is if we hit stop today and played the playoffs right now, I think they'd fancy themselves. And if momentum means anything, they have plenty. And maybe there's an argument other sides in and around that playoff picture have peaked already this season. I should say their semi-final would be against Barnsley if we did stop the clocks right now. And they actually won for the 10th time in 14 games last night too. Having played fewer games than the rest of the top 8, we haven't really mentioned the Tykes too much in these videos. But before we go, we will do just that, and I will mark your card and we'll say that Barnsley's points per game is actually currently better than Derby's, who are ahead of them in the table. The games in hand do all of that. They're only 0.02 off Ipswich and Bolton also. Oh, that'll do us for League One today. We're going to be back on Championship duty tomorrow with the Championship game split across the 2 nights. The remainder of those are tonight. So I don't quite know the whole picture yet, but no doubt we'll have plenty to say tomorrow. I'm very much looking forward as well to the first game in charge for an up-and-coming young EFL manager just in at Huddersfield. Neil Warnock makes his return tonight. Click here to see my take on the Terriers and what the iconic old-timer Mr. Warnock might have just got himself in for. He won't care.